today. The lesson title is Forget Good and Evil. It's all good. You may be going, huh? So, since we spiritual beings have chosen to don an earth suit and partake of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, since that time, we have been creating all kinds of havoc in this world. From our perceptions, our judgments, and our miscreations. So now we are in a period of awareness of our evolving consciousness from a world of duality of good and evil. And I'm using the word evil because in the Bible, that's what we hear. But I'm going to just call it for now good and bad. We are becoming aware that we are in a world of non-duality. In other words, everything is here for our growth into higher states of consciousness. Every experience is for our greater good. So today we're going to look at how our evolution of consciousness includes changing our perceptions of good and bad. Now, everything is consciousness, right? Pure consciousness is God. And the material world and the universes come from the consciousness of Creator. So I gave a story last week about God wanting to experience vastness, and with a big bang just sent energy out in every direction, creating then dimensions and universes and galaxies and solar systems and planets and life forms. And so we are a part. We are a part of God. We also feel apart from God. And so we are working our way back into the conscious awareness, the remembering that we are an aspect of God, God individualized. And from our experience, God has an experience. So we are co-creators in the likeness of the Creator. We are co-creators. And how do we create? From our consciousness. And I know you know the answer. What we believe and consistently think about, we create in form. So just as the Creator created this form, we are creating our form. And as a collective, humanity being a collective, together we are creating form as well. So we humans, we know that everything is energy, right? Our beliefs and thoughts and emotions are energy. And energy has different frequencies. Our beliefs and thoughts and emotions have different vibrations, different energies. And form is just a denser energy. And form corresponds to the frequency of our beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. So what we want to do is change our beliefs from calling something good or bad, and we're going to work on this today, and see that everything is frequency or energy. And so instead of talking about good and bad, we are going to practice speaking in the terms of frequency. So, you know what I forgot to make sure you had? Would someone go out? I left a worksheet on the table, and I forgot to make sure that everybody had one. So you on Zoom, it was available to you to print out. And it's called the Emotional Vibrations Tracking Chart. So do you want to make that available now? Because we're going to look at it. So on your tracking sheet, yeah, I have. Okay, this is called the Emotional Vibrations Tracking Sheet. And just to let you know that Dr. David Hawkins had determined through his method that every emotion or state of consciousness has a frequency or vibration. And so if you look at the bottom of this sheet, you will see that shame has a vibrational frequency of 20. Do y'all see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. And so that's a pretty low frequency, right? And if you look at this worksheet, you'll see that at the top is Christ consciousness with a frequency of between 700 and 1,000 microwatts. So let's go through this. Guilt has a frequency of what? 30, yes. Apathy has a frequency of what? Yep. And I want to add something here about apathy. You'll see that there are some descriptors of each of these states of consciousness. And I did not see depression on here in apathy, but that's where depression belongs. And I'm mentioning that because I have admitted to all of you that I have suffered from depression for years and years. And I'm going to be referring to that momentarily. So depression is when you just curl up from hopelessness. So you can see hopeless as one of the descriptors. When you're in depression, you feel hopeless and all you can do is curl up into a little ball in your bed, depending on how severe it is. But that's where I was in my depression. So I want you to just skip up. There's grief, of course, and fear, but I want you to skip up for just a moment and go from apathy to anger. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because there's a scale with the emotions. And apathy is when you you can't move. You can't do anything. But anger serves a purpose. Anger, you get so, right? When you're angry and it moves you to do something. So I'm pointing this out because every emotion has a purpose. Now, we have to be aware of how we use our emotions. For instance, anger. Some people have not learned how to use their emotions in a way that's productive. And so I actually lived with someone whose anger was explosive. You know, every time that person got angry, it was like a volcano. And that anger got all over everybody, like lava, you know, burning. And you were afraid to be around that person because that was really uncomfortable to have to be subjected to their explosion of anger. So that was a conditioned way for this person to respond with anger. But what is a healthy, productive way to express anger? As I said, it'll get you moving. That's its purpose, to get you moving so that you can take care of whatever situation is causing that anger, right? So I just wanted to point that out. So grief. So all of us have experienced grief. We've had great loss, maybe of someone that we've loved so much, or there are people, I just learned yesterday that there was a big fire back home in Utah, just a few blocks from where I live. And 2 apartment buildings burned to the ground. Fortunately, no one was harmed, except they had great loss of everything, all their possessions, because there was a wind that blew the flames. Somebody was mowing their lawn, for goodness sakes, and a spark from the lawnmower, something that small, and in a strong wind, just took that flame and burnt down in a quick time 2 apartment buildings, leaving people there having lost everything. Can you imagine the grief? So and so it is, you know, that there are people lose their homes in tornadoes and floods, and so grief is not just for the loss of our loved ones, but for anything that shelters us and that we hold dear. So, and so, yes, there is grief, but when is grief bad? So these emotions have a spectrum, you might say. And so when might we find that an emotion is not healthy and productive, and grieving is healthy and productive? Because we have that energy, right? And if it gets stuck in our body, what happens? When grief is stuck in our body, what happens? We can get sick. Yeah, yeah. So we need to express it, but when is it bad? Anybody? When is holding grief bad? How about when you hold it forever? You never get past it. And who's to say how long somebody should be in grief? That's no one's business. You grieve as long as you need to grieve. But if you hold on to a particular emotion for years and years and years, maybe for decades, you are, as Sammy said a moment ago, you are subject then to creating sickness in your body. And so we need to release in a healthy way. We need to process our emotions in a healthy way without hanging on to it forever. Okay, right? So then we're going up the scale. Did someone give William a worksheet? Welcome, William.
Thank you. Sorry to be late.
That's okay. So then we come up to courage. Courage has a vibration of what?
200.
200. So we've come up from a vibration of 20, up to 200. And so this is where we get to have faith and those qualities that help us get through difficult times. And we also then come to neutrality. So neutrality, we talk about that sometimes. People wonder about neutrality. I too have wondered about being neutral about things that are happening in my life or in the world. But what neutrality does is allows you to be non-reactive and to have trust, I would say faith, that a higher power will get us through a situation. So to be non-reactive also is to, now, so we already have established that our beliefs and thoughts and our words are creative, right? And in unity, we teach this. This is one of the 5 principles. And so as co-creators with God, we create on whatever we're focusing on, right? If it's uppermost in our minds a lot, then from that, we are creating form, affecting form. And so this is where being non-reactive is helpful. So we're going to be talking about what's happening in the world in a few minutes, okay? Hey, you
You
can.
going back to 20?
Maybe less.
We'll be talking about that, William. No, it's a good question. It's a good question. Okay, so up the scale, we come to acceptance of what is. And yes, we'll be talking about that momentarily. Acceptance of what is. When we can accept what is, that's where we can find forgiveness. And even create harmony and mercy. So you can see that love, and I mentioned, look at love. Hey, we're here to love, right? Love has a frequency of 500. And I've mentioned many times that when we can live consistently in the frequency of love, ooh, we make such a positive impact, not just in our own lives, but in society, in the collective consciousness. Okay, then joy. Oh my goodness, joy has a vibration of what?
5 and 40.
Yeah, wow. And when we can be in love, something happens to us. We can come into joy, into celebrating life, into just loving life. So, and then peace, when we're in bliss, oh my goodness, can you imagine that? If you've not, I hope everybody has had an experience, no matter how short a time. And if it's been a longer time, if you've had an experience of peace of mind, of being in bliss, that is quite the gift, isn't it? Quite the gift. I speak from experience. I've been blessed with an experience of that, and I hope everybody is, even if it's for 5 minutes and you've had that experience, that's good. And then Christ consciousness, that is what we are working for. That is where we are evolving into Christ consciousness. Now, I'm just going to mention, I created this, I'm calling it a vibration tracking chart. And you can see that I've allowed for 6 days of tracking your emotions all day long. This is so knowing that we are co-creators, right? We are creating with our beliefs and thoughts and words and our emotions. And so you want to know where you are hanging out for the most part, what emotions that you focus on in your life. consciously or unconsciously. And so you have 6 days. You can start today, but I encourage you to use this tracking sheet so that you increase your awareness of what you are creating. And if you don't like what your life looks like, if there's something in your life that you find disturbing, then you get to know that from your consciousness, you are the creator, right? And sometimes that is hard news, right? Yeah, yeah. But the sooner we make that realization and we play with it, we're here to experiment and see, oh, I don't like this. Now I get to change it, and I know how. I know how to change it. Now, it's true that circumstances happen, like the people whose apartments burned down in Salt Lake City recently. I'm not saying they created that. So stuff happens, right? But it's not what happens to you, but what?
How we react to it.
How you react to it, what you do with it. That's what makes the difference. Okay. So we can create something totally new from experiences that we are calling bad. Dr. Maya, you can take the worksheet down now. Thank you. I can see your faces again. So, so there is a purpose for every emotion. And there is only one reason when an emotion is bad. And what is that one reason? I mentioned it 2 minutes ago. I would love to hear a response. What is the one reason when an emotion is bad?
I mean, like with grief, when we hang on to it.
When you hang on to it, yeah. Or like anger, when you haven't learned how to manage it in a productive and healthy way.
You're reacting.
Because you're reacting, you are reacting, yep. It all ties together, right? Exactly so. So, oh, I did that. Did that. Wow. I covered it.
Yes.
Okay, now accepting what is. So that's on the tracking sheet, right? Acceptance. Acceptance of what is. Boy, that's a hard one, isn't it? Isn't it a hard one? So know this. Everything that happens to you is for you. The universe is never against you. Have you all heard that before? Yep. And so you may be asking, well, how is this for me? And so you get to ask the question when something comes up and you find it painful, it's uncomfortable, you get to ask, how am I benefited from this? How is this for me? So I want you to take that question with you. In fact, on that tracking sheet that you all have, ask that question. How is this for me? And then you answer that question when you find yourself in pain and suffering, okay? So Jesus in the Bible said, resist not evil. Do you remember that quote? Or don't resist bad stuff. Don't resist bad stuff. So how do we accept? Here's the question. Boy, I ask myself this question, and I bet some of you do too. How do we accept the atrocities that are happening in the world today? How do we accept the atrocities that are happening in this world today? How do we not name it evil? Oh, you guys, I might cry again. Dang.
Let it go. Let it go.
Because we need a larger perspective. So since Cain and Abel, humans have been perpetuating atrocities on one another for their own self-serving purposes. There's a higher purpose. We are here to learn from I'm going to use another word from the Bible. We are here to learn from our sins. Now, I know that many of you in Unity have learned that the word sin is actually an ancient what? Archery term. Do you all know that? No? Oh my gosh, I'm teaching you something new. I love it. I love it. Okay. Sin is an old archery term that means missing the bullseye, missing the mark. When we sin, it doesn't mean hell and damnation. It means we miss the mark. And in archery, when you miss the mark, then what do you get to do? You get to try again, don't you? And if you miss the mark again, try again until you hit the bullseye. Wow. Don't you love that different perspective? But that it's true. That's what that word, it's an old archery term used in the Bible. I missed the mark. And so the way we evolve is to look at each moment. And when we have a painful experience or when we are aware of atrocities happening in the world, then we get to know that we get to work on ourselves. And as we work on ourselves, we know that like a domino effect, like a pebble dropped into the water, it ripples out. We affect others. If we have war in our consciousness, we get to cleanse our consciousness of war. So I talked about, oh boy, in Ho'oponopono, I talked about that a lot, right? We get to cleanse our own consciousnesses. And know that when we make mistakes, it's the opportunity to correct our misperceptions, our miscreations, and evolve into higher vibration of choices. Now, last week, probably in the last few weeks, but last week I told you a story. Last 2 weeks, I told you stories that all of the arrangements for living on this earth have already been made, right? By our souls before we even incarnated here. Who we're going to be with. Some people call it sacred contracts. We have a bunch of sacred contracts with everybody. who is in your life. Okay, we even have sacred contracts for conditions that we accept. And the reason is we get to work through those conditions, through those relationships. And because everything was made, all the arrangements were made before we incarnated, we are left with only two choices at any given time, in any given situation. And those two choices are what? Love or fear. Woo! Oh my God. You know what? A teacher loves when this when she gets feedback that, hey, we heard the lesson. That means I don't have to talk about it anymore. So last week also, I was talking about Reverend Michael Beckwith's teaching of we are evolving in 4 stages of consciousness. The first stage is what? Victim. Yes. You're a star student, Sammy. I love it. Okay, so first stage is victim consciousness. Now I have a little personal story to tell right now. And you know what? The reason I tell personal stories is because I figure, do you remember when I told you, like, it was either week 1 or week 2, I said, you are going to watch me evolve my personal consciousness. I'm about to embarrass myself by telling you a story. And man, if I can raise my vibration, so can you. That's why I tell my personal stories, so that you can say, wow, if she did that and learned from that, I can too. Okay, ready? So some of you know this story. If you read my Substack, oh boy, do you know this story. So on Tuesday, I was out with one of my friends, and I noticed that, of course, around here, we ride buses and the metro train, right? And you buy tickets that are on a little card, right? And I had 3 tickets left on my card, so I went to buy some more for the month. So I go up to the clerk and I say I want to see if they have senior discount. It was recommended that I ask if there's senior discount. So I don't get the free senior card because I'm not a resident. So I asked the question and the clerk speaks French. And I said, do you speak English? And he nodded, nope. And so we proceed to have a discussion that I don't even understand. So it started with him writing on a piece of paper, December. Oh, I'm sorry. First, he asked for my ID. So I give him my ID, which happens to be my Utah driver's license, because in Utah, I drive everywhere. I'm not used to a transit system. So, by the way, this transit system is excellent. Excellent. You can get anywhere at any time on the bus and the train. I'm amazed. So he asks for my driver's license, and I'm going, oh, that must mean that I will get a senior discount if he wants to see my age. And so my birthday is on my ID, and it's in April. And so I give my license to him, and then he writes on a piece of paper, December. And I'm going, and by the way, my license expires on my birthday of when, after 10 years or whatever it is, 5 years. So he writes December and I'm going, huh? And he takes his pen and he, and he points at December and I'm going, huh? Not understand. And he's speaking French. And it's like, I'm not understanding. Then he writes my birthday on that piece of paper. By the way, it's upside down to me. But anyway, he writes my birthday and go, oh, that's my birthday. So I never have gotten what in the world, but you can see we started off on the wrong foot right then and there. Oh, that was wrong foot number 2. So we proceed to have a very lengthy and very frustrating lack of communication. And finally, I say, I'm not going to buy my tickets right now. And so I said, give me back my ID. And then he speaks English. And it's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to say what it's like because I'll use a bad word.
He wants to sell.
Oh my gosh. So I was nice to him because I had a choice, love or fear, right? And so I expressed gratitude, which is a part of love, had a big smile on my face and walked away not happy. I faked it, I must admit. And so here's the thing. I had an opportunity to process the whole situation, and it didn't happen in 1 hour. It happened over a period of time. Part of it, and I did write about it on my Substack, complaining. And a friend of mine who lives in Utah, who is from Quebec, I don't know if she's from Montreal, but she's from Quebec, and she was upset by my Substack post. And she said, you don't understand the history, and that makes me feel bad. And you are giving misinformation if you don't tell the whole story. And so I thought about that. And so I did an addendum Substack post. And so I'm going, and so if you want to read it, Dr. Maya has the link on the bulletin. So, but I have to bottom line this. And what I could have done had I had presence of mind, but at the time I allowed frustration to overwhelm me. But had I stayed in neutrality, I would have had the presence of mind to, ta-da, see this? This is called a smartphone. Guess what is on this smartphone? April, what do you use to communicate? One of our guests is from China. She's been here for a few months. And if she doesn't, she's learning English and French at the same time. And so April, when we're having difficulty communicating, she pulls out her phone and brings up the translation app. There's a translation app on this smartphone. And guess what? I could have saved myself all kinds of aggravation if I had taken responsibility for my experience instead of going, oh, if I had taken responsibility for my experience, I had a resource available to me.
It's true, but it won't help. And I'm not a saint, and this morning I fell to 150 at least for getting here. But
There's a discussion happening where you guys can't hear. So here's what I'm going to ask. I wish that there was a microphone that allowed for a discussion that, but we can talk about it after service. But see, if there was a wrong that happened, if I felt wronged, guess what? I was still responsibility for my reaction to it, right? And you know what? He can drink poison, but my reacting to the incident was about me drinking poison. He wasn't hurt. He was having a game. I'm sure it was fun for him. And I did not have to drink the poison. So you guys, do you get it? It doesn't matter about him. It matters about me and how I am being in the world. Yes. So I was in victim consciousness. But guess what? I redeemed myself. I redeemed myself when I went to manifester consciousness. And so, heck, manifested, it was in my purse the whole time, but at some point I manifested the exact instrument that I needed. And when it happens again, and it could, I'm ready to do better, to do better. That's what this is about. Okay, so, the third stage of consciousness is when we are a channeler. We are channeling information from our soul, from God. And the fourth stage of consciousness is when we actually know in our very being that we are one with God. One with God. When we know that, when we live that, we will not have any more incarnations. Woo! I don't have to come back, I hope, eventually. We'll see. But until we know our oneness, we get to have another incarnation until we get it. So, atrocities, evil, you know what? In perspective of why we are here, when we individuals evolve our own consciousness, it ripples out and touches others, their consciousness, and the collective consciousness, and us together, we are raising up our vibration, and we will have no more war. We have had the opportunity through many incarnations to learn what doesn't work in this world and to make it different, to make a world that works for everyone in every corner of the planet. Everyone. A Course in Miracles states that everyone will go home to God. It's a matter of time, just a matter of time. And it may take you many, many, many incarnations, but as long as it takes, the time will come when all of us return to source. And then we won't have to do this anymore. We'll be in fifth dimensional consciousness or even higher dimensions of consciousness. So I believe I'm done. Let us meditate. I invite you to close your eyes. Relax your bodies, open your mind and your heart. And breathe deeply. Do your belly breaths. And know that we are each an aspect of God. And there is a purpose for our emotions. Our emotions give us an opportunity to learn and grow from every incident that presents itself to us. And if you miss the mark in any particular situation, you get to look at it and ask, how can I do this better? If I had to do it over again, how would I express love? And I invite you in this moment to consider that with a challenge you have right now. Bring up your challenge and ask, what vibrational frequency am I in? How can I raise this into the frequency of either neutrality or love? And know that meditation is a key. When you still your thoughts, this is when you can hear the divine guidance that's always available to you. Stop the monkey mind and listen. Choose love. Choose love. In meditation, consider what that looks like with your current challenge. Okay, so I invite you to meditate every day, asking for guidance in any and every situation, large or small. And for now, just feel your feet on the ground, wiggle those toes, your fingers when you're ready. Open your eyes. And remember, the universe is for you, never against you. Whew, I went long.